Greetings shippers, welcome back. Recently we took a look at the top 10 ships of 2017 according to Tumblr. And in that video I mentioned that just because they were the top ships on Tumblr, it didn't necessarily mean they would line up with what your top ships were, especially depending upon where you hung out online. As a result, some people are asking what exactly were my top ships from 2017. Because a lot of people had some very different 2017s, myself included. So you know what? I thought, why not? But not 10. That's just too many. We'd be here all day and it would turn from 10 to 20 to 25 and we don't have time for that. So you know what? Let's do a safe number, like 5. There we go. 5. These are just some ships I've been unwinding with while I'm not researching my vids. I figured this out by going through my bookmarks and seeing what fics I had saved, what I was rereading, what vids I was rewatching, and just where I was going over and over again. I figured this would be a cool video to do because I know not everybody has people who are shippers or fangirls or into that type of fandom with them. So this way we can all share our ships, chat, and just hang out and have a good time because this is a space where we can all ship even if we don't ship the same thing. It's okay. So let's have fun. I'll share mine, you share yours. Let's take a trip down short-term memory lane and get started. Number 5, Denny/Bean from Supernatural, the pairing of Benny the Vampire and Dean Winchester. For those of you who have been here for a while, you know that I have a series called Most Shippable Moments, and that series actually started with Supernatural, and yes, it is still going. I'm getting to it, don't worry. However, during my rewatch of season 8, I came upon Denny. I just really enjoyed the character of Benny the Vampire and his friendship with Dean that they formed when they were escaping purgatory together, especially in light of Dean's almost having turned into a vampire a couple of seasons prior. So in a way they could relate to each other. I wanted to see that explored more than it was. And of course, disapproving Sam, always a bonus. While this season for some is the most Destiel-y of the lot, which is understandable, I was drawn to this ship. It's sometimes just nice to explore the smaller ships and maybe get one of the Winchesters away from that super claustrophobic, tight-knit friend/family group that they're always with. Of course, Denny never had any chance of overtaking Destiel or even putting a dent in it, but sometimes it's cool, like I said, to hang out in those smaller ships, and there's a lot to offer, even if there's not a lot of material. Number 4, Cable Pool, Marvel's Cable and Deadpool. So, I liked the Deadpool movie. I didn't love it, but I had some laughs, and it was definitely a very accurate portrayal of the character. Probably the best ever. But for me, what got me the most excited was the post-credit sequence where it was revealed that they were going to indeed get Cable. I was over the moon. I've always loved the Cable and Deadpool bromance that is more than a bromance even canonically. I reread my giant Cable and Deadpool omnibus all the time, almost yearly. It's a bit of a ritual. It's just one of my favorite comics to come back to. So when they finally announced the Cable casting this year, even though it wasn't my dream casting, I was still very, very excited. Because it meant that hopefully, finally, people other than me and a couple of others were going to be aware of Cable Pool. It's a good ship that needs more love. I think I've read pretty much every Cable Pool fic out there 3 times or more, even all the work in progresses that I know will never be finished. That's when you know you have a problem. I know most people are Spidey Pool people, and that's fun too, but I just wish more people knew about Cable Pool, or even about Cable. Half the time I have to explain who he is to people. But that's about to change, hopefully for the better. But hey, you never know. Number 3, Superbad, based on the DCEU versions of Batman and Superman. Oh, the DCEU. I could go on for a long time. It has many, many a problem. From characterizations, to tone, to color palette, to score, to a whole bunch of things. But at the same time, it also has some very positive aspects that people tend to overlook. They're not as bad as people say they are. The truth of how good they are kind of lies somewhere in the middle. Not awful, not great. So I'm actually not a strong Superbad shipper. I dabble here and there, definitely more in the comic verse. However, when it comes to the DCEU, something happened. Just their characterizations are so slightly off that it made me really want to see them get together, especially because the fiction that people have created to fix it and kind of flesh out the world is really, really good. The DCEU has some of the best fics I've seen in years. After Dawn of Justice, people really worked hard to correct the representations they were given, or just expand or build upon it if they liked it. And then this year, 2017, came Justice League. I took away a couple of things from Justice League. One, that Batman is still very confusingly characterized, but I'm kind of okay with it. And 2, he is 100% all behind Clark. All of a sudden, to the point where it kind of seems like he's in love with him. Clearly, in the 5 minutes after he learned that both their moms' names were Martha, he fell hard. In this film, he's just so invested in Superman's mythos, what he represents. He smiles when he sees him again. He's the one who jogs him back into remembering who he is. It's deep. I don't think they meant it to be that way, but it kind of came across that way. Let me put it this way, if I wasn't already on the ship, I would have requested a first class ticket. Superman really isn't developed in that film, so again, the fandom has been doing some great work, and they've also been bringing in some of the Robins, which has been great. Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, it's just wonderful expansion work. If you haven't done so already, think about checking out some of the fics, because they're really well done. And we're staying in the DCEU for number 2. It's Wonderbat. I am nothing if not a multi-shipper. I frequently have multiple ships from the same show, crossover ships, opposite ships, all kinds of things. I can hold them all in my head, it's fine. So that's how I can have Wonderbat and Superbat and enjoy them just as much. I've always liked the idea of Wonderbat a bit more than Superman and Wonder Woman together. It's just a bit more interesting to me. Not that Superman and Wonder Woman doesn't have some very fine points to explore, I just prefer exploring Batman and Wonder Woman, personally. Just me. Calm down. Now, this version of Wonderbat is quite different from the one in the DCAU, the animated universe. This one kind of has almost a Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne vibe sometimes. She comes off very Catwoman-y, especially in Dawn of Justice. However, they fleshed that out in Justice League, even though I'm not cool with her shoving him at full strength. That's no. Also, why did he bring up Steve Trevor? Just that whole scene. However, I really feel like in these movies, they just match. There's a loneliness there, an aloofness, and I like the idea of the two of them bringing each other back into the world that they've distanced themselves from, rediscovering it, exploring it together, fighting crime side by side. I just get a kick out of it. In my headcanon, Bruce is a bit younger too, so they have more time to do it. I mean, he could have gone gray early. Living in Gotham is rough. It's a rough town. I'd probably have gone gray early too. And my number 1 relaxing ship is Cheronica from Riverdale, Cheryl Blossom, and Veronica Lodge. And I probably didn't say that ship name right, and that's okay. So Riverdale is an interesting specimen. People tend to think it's either a terrible adaptation or a great one, and the fact that it's managed to change so much and yet stay recognizable. People know that they're Archie characters even if they're often very off. Although I do know that this show lost a lot of people a long time ago, and it's understandable. It's very cheesy and very CW. One of the things they have changed is some of the characters' backstory, such as Veronica, who is coming to us after being the rich aloof girl because she's kind of suffering for her father's sins. In her place is Cheryl, who is very much the aloof, untouchable stereotype. While I'm normally a Betty and Veronica girl, in this show I feel like it's actually giving more substance to work with for the Cheryl-Veronica relationship, and that they have so much in common. Both know what it's like to have these expectations placed upon you and to be apart because of your wealth or because of things your family have done. I just really like the idea of the two of them being able to be themselves together or just be sassy ice queens. I'll take either. So that's what I've been shipping in my spare time this year, with just some brief explanations as to why, because if I really got into it hardcore, we would be here all night. Yes, I'm filming at night. My husband got me a light for Christmas and I'm so thrilled. I'm still figuring out the settings, but I think it looks great and it expands my filming time, and I'm gonna stop rambling. So this was just a quick chit chat video, but I think I'll also fill you in on some other things that I really enjoyed in 2017 that maybe you want to check out or you've checked out already and you've been enjoying, or maybe you hate them. You can let me know either way down below. One of them, the podcast LeVar Burton Reads. For those of you not familiar with LeVar Burton, he was Geordi on Star Trek, and he also had a show called The Reading Rainbow where he read children's books to you, and it was amazing. It was part of my childhood. I loved it, and in this way, this podcast, LeVar Burton Reads, it is back. Now he is reading adult short stories, and it is wonderful. He just has such a great cadence to his voice, and he projects this warmth when he reads, and it's just a warm, nice feeling all over. It's also a great way to be introduced to some short fiction that you might not have read otherwise. Very relaxing, very awesome, especially if you're a fan of LeVar Burton and short stories. I'm also loving This Is Us. I stayed away for a while because there was a lot of hype and people kept telling me you're gonna cry, and eventually I just went challenge accepted. And I did cry, though not as much as people said I was going to, but aside from that, I also discovered a really great show. It's nuanced, and for once, a family show that really loves families. It's not belittling them or looking down on them. It's using them to explore a bunch of complex issues. It acknowledges that yes, there are flaws, but not to the point where it's cracking or they hate each other and it's just a dysfunctional mess. It's still a family full of respect and love, and I like that. It's rare to see sometimes. Yes, it's a little melodramatic. If you don't like lots of melodrama, then maybe it's not for you, but hey, come on. Milo Ventimiglia, yay. Also, I just realized that I've had a crush on Milo Ventimiglia literally my whole life. It's kind of horrifying and awesome at the same time, just like Kyle MacLachlan. I've also actually really been enjoying the Orville. I was kind of hesitant at first because I'm not the biggest fan of all of Seth MacFarlane's work, and I'm not a huge Family Guy fan, and that was what some of the humor was looking like in some of the trailers. However, I decided, you know what, I love Star Trek and Star Trek spoofs and all sci-fi stuff so much, I'm gonna check it out, and I'm so glad I did. Humor aside, which sometimes really works and sometimes, yeah, it slides a little bit into not quite working for me, I found a show that genuinely loves Star Trek and sci-fi. It's a really loving tribute that stands on its own and still gently mocks, and I love that. You can tell the love not only in how it plays with sci-fi tropes, sometimes subverting them, but also in all the little details, like the silly asymmetrical cups that they always have in Star Trek. You know, the ones that look really uncomfortable that no one would actually have, that I buy now because they make me think about being in the future? Yeah, they have those cups, all in their awkward shapes. That's a really neat detail of someone who really cares. I also love that their robot crewman is not only named Isaac, but he also has the same design as the first edition of Isaac Asimov's iRobot. Those little things, I can't get enough of little details like that. It also is taking the time to develop its characters, and they have motivations and characteristics, and I'm all about it. I really feel that some people did just dismiss it because it was from Seth MacFarlane. Although, yes, I know it's definitely not for everybody. It's not the type of show that's very much made right now. Sometimes the transition from sci-fi to humor can be a bit jarring, and some people might find the characterizations a bit caricature-y. But hey, we all like what we like. Anyway, those were a few things I've been enjoying in 2017, entertainment-wise and ship-wise. Please share your top 5 ships of the year down below. I want to hear them. Also share some non-shipping material you really enjoyed. I always love seeing what you guys are into, and sometimes I find some really great recs. Maybe you guys found some stuff to check out, maybe you didn't, maybe you hated all of these. I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments down below. Whatever the case, I had a great time hanging out with you, and I'm looking forward to a new year of talking about ships and all kinds of fandom things and much more. As always, I will catch you next time, and let's get to that outro. Bye-bye. This has been Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Special thanks to all my patrons, names on the sides. Follow me on social media to stay up to date, and as always, stay tuned, for there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky.